Karen.
Everyone, today I have a very special person with me today. I'm Karen Putz, and today I have with me Dr. Barbara Collins. And today we're going to talk all about midlife reinvention and what that involves. And Dr. Collins has a midlife reinvention of her own that she's going to be sharing. I can't even remember how we found it.
I know.
But I'm so thrilled that we did. We connected last week and you shared some amazing wisdom that I hope that you're going to share today.
I sure will. Thank you, Karen. Hi to everyone.
Hello to everyone, yes. Before we even begin,
Yes.
Let's talk about you, what your journey is, who you are, what brought you to where you are today.
Yes, that's a long story. I will shorten it the best way I can. But Karen, when I was working full-time for many years, raising two daughters in a divorced marriage as a single parent, I was working as a teacher first, elementary school teacher for 10 years. Then I went to higher ed. And then finally, before I decided my passion, I was working in corporate America. So that's my backstory. Now, the catalyst for me to plan my second half of life while I was working in my 40s really is attributed to my mom. My mother got her master's in gerontology and when she was 68. And while I was working hard, raising my girls, I used to visit her at the senior living facility. And she always said that, I know you're busy, but trust me, midlife is going to come fast and your second half of life is going to come fast. So plan now. Now, who thinks of your midlife in your 40s? Well, I did. It wasn't common, but because my mother influenced me, I started making plans for how to live a fulfilling and meaningful life later. I really did. And my girlfriends thought it was weird, thinking about that now, because nobody thinks of getting older, but I did. And literally, Karen, while I was working and raising my kids, I made up activities to do to discover who I am. So fast forward, what I discovered is that when we are working at our jobs or whatever we're doing, between 20 and 40 years old, that's who we are. That's our identity. And what happens in midlife, like Kathleen Grahoney says in her book, Awakening in Midlife, there's a nudge, invisible nudge that comes in our brain that there's something more to you that you need to do. Now, I felt that nudge early on in my late 40s. I said, let me get going. So what I did, I made up an activity to find something to do in my 50s on up that gives me joy. It comes easy, effortlessly, and gives me pleasure. Because my mom told me, you said, once you leave your 9 to 5, you retire, people start looking for a second career or a new vacation. She said, I think you should start now thinking about that. So I went back to school to get my doctorate in my 40s. Because I knew I wanted to teach in my midlife. That's who I am. Corporate life was not who I was. It paid the job, it paid the bills, made my sense into college. I'm blessed, I'm grateful. But I wanted to get on this journey discovering who I really am in midlife. And I'm so glad I did that. Going back to school is not for everybody, but I knew that I wanted to teach, which brings me joy and pleasure in my second half of life, which is what I'm doing now. I teach at a college. Something else I discovered in my 40s that I wanted to do later, I made up an activity I think I'd share with you, Karen. I asked my best girlfriends from high school to have lunch with me. I was about 49, I think we got together. And I asked them the question, what was I doing in high school that gave me pleasure, looks joy? Now, I know your audience probably say, well, Barbara, how can you forget that? Well, in midlife, that's what happens. A lot of research says that sometimes when life kicks in, Our brain only focuses on the journey to get things done now. So I didn't think about it. So I asked them the question, what was I doing? So they laughed. They said, oh, Barbara, that's easy. You love to be in school plays. You love to act and perform. You know what? Karen, I was stunned because I really forgot about that. And that happens in midlife. We have to rewind to remember the things that brought us joy. Because as women, we tend to focus on the nurturing. We're wired to nurturing. We're wired to give. We're wired to raise kids. But we're not wired to take a pause. So when they told me that, I was still working full time, raising kids. The clue that I have in my course for women on how to plan your second half life, the clue was they told me that I had joy in performing. So guess what I had to do? I had to go really trust and explore while I was working, raising kids. Is this what I want to do later? I already realized I wanted to teach, okay? So guess what I did? I took an acting class while I was working, long hours, but I went after work one night a week. Guess what happened? I realized that I loved acting. I really did. I could have stayed there for hours. That was my big clue. Again, they're clues. So fast forward, because I followed the path acting and I enjoyed it, it came easy. I'm now in my midlife. Besides teaching, I am modeling for TV and print, and that's a form of acting. I discovered my acting class really gave me clues that I love to speak in front of audiences. That connects to the acting and all that stuff. So I had 3 choices, Karen, that I knew early on that I can plan for. I didn't quit my job. Nope. Kept working until I was old enough to know it's time to do something else after corporate life. So guess what happened? When I left corporate life, I didn't retire. I reinvented myself. But I had clues already planned. I fell into my modeling TV. I taught at the local college, and I was a professional speaker. So I say that all to say, Karen, when you plan your second half of life, when you plan your midlife, plan it so you have choices and don't have to figure it out. Now, it's never too late. There's some women I talked to that did not do what I did, and that's okay. They didn't plan early, that's okay. It's never too late. 50s, 60s, 70s, you can start now exploring something that comes easy to you and do it. I just had a mom that influenced me how to plan my midlife very early on. So right now I'm enjoying the 4 words that are clues. You want to plan a life, your second half life that gives you joy. It feels like pleasure, gives you resilience and builds your self-esteem. And it really increases your awareness of who you are. And that's what I did. So what I do with my books and my speaking and my course, I get women to start exploring in my 5-point program. So I'm having a good time in my, and also I meant to mention this, research said mental health, our brain is wired to keep moving. So as you get older, you want to make sure your brain is healthy and you're engaged in something, whether it's a second career or vocation. You know, some women are called to do things like in service, not to make money, just to do things that they enjoy in helping people. So the mental health part, knowing what matters to you in your second half of life are clues to what you want to plan. So that's my story, Karen, in terms of what I'm doing today and how I did it and how I'm servicing women today.
I love it. I absolutely love it. There are a couple of things that stand out while I was listening to you. And the one thing was always making sure that you have choices.
Yes.
You told me that last week, and it was just really profound, and it really stuck with me. And I was just sharing it with my kid last night.
Oh, really?
Always make sure that you have choices.
Yes.
Your mom going back to school at the age of 68 gave her more choices to choose
Yes.
in terms of jobs.
Yes.
You looking back and discovering acting led you to even more choices in your
Yeah.
second half of life because you
Right.
chose to pursue something that you were passionate about. And it started opening doors for you with speaking, with acting, with the print and the ads that you're doing. And you mentioned books. You've written
Yeah.
books, right? Can you tell us
Yeah.
about that?
Sure. When I left corporate life, my first book was based on a course that I taught at Core States, which is now Wachovia. The course was Career Empowerment Strategies for Women. So when I left corporate life, I took that course and turned it into a book. And the first book I wrote was probably around 2006. It's called It's Your Turn. And the book talks about my journey into discovering and reinventing who I am. It's not a thick book, it's only 73 pages, but it was my way of giving witness to my journey is beginning. So it's called It's Your Turn, and it's on Amazon.com. The second book I wrote about 5 years ago, it's called Power in Midlife and Beyond. Now that book is 14 ways to discover your authentic life. And in that book, there are key activities that women can do to discover who they really are. And those are some of the activities I mentioned, Karen, that I made up early in my 40s. Okay, now I'm in my 70s. But that book, Power in Midlife, also, Karen, I mention that to you. The book also helps women to realize a lot of new research is coming out that women are living even up into their 100-year-old age. Really. I mean, look at Betty White and so many women because of new technology and health. So those two books are to help women really answer. So what do I do with all those years I have left? If you are blessed and fortunate to have a healthy life, that's a gift. A gift that gives you a reason to get up in the morning. So those two books I wrote to help women, help them have a reason to get up in the morning.
So let me ask you, what's a big dream that you have that in this lifetime you want to experience it?
Oh, my biggest dream right now, Karen, really, there are two things. The course that I wrote called How to Plan Your Second Half of Life. I just finished the course 6 months ago. My dream is that women from all over the world will take my course to begin learning how to plan that second half of life. I wrote that course, I designed that 12-week course during COVID. So that's my biggest dream. I see having a big celebration of all the women that went through the program, like a Zoom celebration or maybe a retreat. So that's one of my biggest dreams. And also my dream is also to really give back to women in my life that helped me get to where I am today. Maybe like an Oprah legacy party. Remember she had one years ago and she invited all her friends and coworkers, and those are my two biggest dreams.
That would be awesome. I took part in what we call a pause thing, it's based on the Oprah legacy.
Oh, really?
It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so those are my big dreams, my dreams of trying to make sure that I keep my health good and I keep traveling. But those are my two big dreams I have for helping women discover and reinvent themselves.
I love it. Now, when we think of that word passion, I'm all about passion because
I know, yeah.
Having your passion. So I
Yes.
ask you, when you think of that word passion, what does it mean to you and how do you define it?
I define passion by loving being in your own skin. Walking in your own skin and being in your own skin gives you a light of energy that you are determined to fulfill because that's where your love is. And when you're doing your passion, Karen, like I'm sure you know, hours can go by and you never feel it. Passion gives you energy and you're working in your purpose. So, passion for me is walking in and feeling comfortable in your own skin and doing your purpose in life, what you came here to do.
I love it. I love it. That's a beautiful definition of it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And passion is always, you know, passion gives us a lot of energy. You know that, Karen. When you figure out what she see, there are a lot of women that we are fortunate, Karen. Thousands of women do not know what their passion is. So when I find someone, a woman who feels not like she's not being fulfilled, I know her passion hasn't been ignited. So passion means that it's something you either believe in so wholeheartedly that you want to really work at it. And that comes from knowing your core values, Karen. I do an exercise in my course, so identifying your top 5 core values. Because our values come from what we were taught and how we were raised. But values are more about what do you believe in? What is your belief about the world, about people, what ignites you? And my top core values are one of my top ones is integrity, and next is faith, then health, after that, and friends and family. So whatever your top core values are, that connects to who you are and your passion. That's a big clue for women.
I agree.
Yeah.
Know who you are, what your values are in life. There's so many clues in that.
Oh, yes.
Think
Yes.
so many.
And yeah, and also, Karen, right, values really are, once you make a list of them, you'd be surprised how your memory clicks in to what you want to do. But here's another clue, Karen. In my workshop, I said, what was the last compliment that someone gave you? I don't know about you, Karen, what used to happen when somebody gave me a compliment years ago, I used to just poo-poo it, just say, never thought about it, thank you. But remember the compliments, they're so important. When somebody said, well, Karen, hi, how did you do that? You make it look so easy. Hold on to that big clue. Don't just take it for granted, because what they see in you, you may not see in yourself. So hearing a compliment and holding it is so important.
Yeah, our friends are definitely a big clue because they can sometimes see us in ways that we can't see ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that.
Putting all those pieces together.
Yeah, because the compliments are big clues.
If you're working with somebody in the second half of life who feels like they're too old, it's too late, I'm too thin, too heavy, too weak, too whatever, but they find that they had a dream that they had years ago and they never gave any attention to that dream, what would you tell them?
Well, I think what I tell women to do is to try to visualize what it could be like. Visualization is more different from dreaming. So visualization is, for example, if a woman tells me, I don't know what to do, I don't have a dream, I said, pretend you're an artist. What kind of picture would you draw for yourself? And what happens to the brain kicks in, it goes on like a maze. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who wrote the book, Creative Living and Psycho-Cybernetics. Visualization is probably one of the most powerful ways to begin imagining and making things happen. He was a neurosurgeon. He was a plastic surgeon. And he wrote the book because women would come to him miserable. And they said, fix my nose, fix my lips, fix my eyes so I can be happy. When he found out, all the patients, most of them were no more happier than they were in the beginning when they got their new nose. And that bothered him. So what he figured out that when you visualize your dream, you may not feel it, but draw it, cut a picture out of it, see it. You know what happens to the brain, Karen? The brain goes on a journey to make you give you exposure to the answers. It does happen. It's not magic. And the brain is like a maze. When I started visualizing my dream many years ago, I visualized before I started on my second path. I went from teaching to corporate America. I had a clue what corporate life looked like, not a clue. I was teaching kids. So what I did, someone said, cut a picture of what an office looks like. What do you think an office looks like in corporate life? And you want to be there. To make a long story short, Karen, I cut out pictures of an office, went to visit my girlfriend who works in a big high rise. I visualized that office, put it on a vision board. Vision boards are very powerful. And after my interview for a large healthcare organization, that office that I was in on the 25th floor was similar to the office which was on my vision board. It's not magic. It's just when you see it, you can be it.
You have to believe it before you can see it.
You have to see
I
it.
think it's the other way around, that we have to see something to believe it. But we actually have to believe it in our mind and see it. And there it is.
Yes.
I visualize the house that I'm in right now. And when I walked into the model home, that was it. It was already in my mind
See?
at that point.
That's important. That's why people go house dreaming and going to beautiful houses is so they can see it, which helps them to believe it can happen. It's not magic. It's not that you have to stare at the board every day, but if you have a vision board like what you did, you see it in your brain. You know, when I got my doctorate from the Temple, I saw myself walking down the aisle to get my degree. So the women, the answer to a question you were asking me, women who are depressed, don't know who they are, feel it's too late. Those are a kind of clues that are putting your head, but your brain is going in the direction you don't want it to go in. So we have to change the narrative and say, I see myself doing this, and visualize it, cut a picture out and just keeping in your brain. Does it take work, Karen? Yes. If you want a different life, it takes work. You know, not the hard work of not doing it. I call work, get a journal, write a journal, get a journal and write down, if life was different, what would I be doing? And see what happens, you know, see what happens. You get answers from the weirdest places, messages from strangers. A TV show may come on that jots your memory about what you were dreaming of. A friend, it's amazing how visualization works. It really is amazing. So that's what I tell them. Yeah.
I love that. I have also experienced that in the last 10 years. So
Oh, good. You visualize something. Yeah.
To wrap up all of this, I want you to think back and think of somebody who had a profound effect on your life, whether it was something you read in a book, an author, somebody you met, a mentor that you had.
Yeah.
What is a profound lesson that you can wrap this up with?
A quick story, but very powerful. I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Maya Angelou, one of the most fascinating poets, African-American poets, and visionary and dreamer. She was a prolific speaker, one of Oprah's mentors. I had a privilege of watching Dr. Maya Angelou speak at a conference. And at the conference, there must have been 800 women in the audience. She's a very regal woman, Dr. Maya Angelou. She's written so many books. So I watched her. I was so excited seeing her, Karen. She stood up at the podium, at the lectern, looked at everybody, She started speaking, and guess what happened? All of a sudden, this man tries to sneak in front of her, coming out of a room in front of her while she's speaking, right? And he thinks somebody's seeing him. He comes in front of her to fix her mic. She never broke a minute. She continued speaking. Guess what she said? She looked down at him and she said, "My dear man, what are you doing?" And he was so embarrassed. He said, "I'm trying to fix your mic." Guess what she said? She looked at him. She said, "No, no, not now. No, you can't." And he sheepishly walked off the stage. She never stopped. She looked at us. She said, "Ladies, no is a complete sentence. No, no, no. Whenever something is not working in your alignment of who you are, remember, you always have the ability to make the choice and say no in a way that people can hear you peacefully and assertively." Remember, she took that whole incident with that man interrupting her and saying to us a lesson we can learn from saying no to him in a nice way. That was the most powerful. She's one of my biggest influences today.
I love that. No is a complete sentence.
Yes, and sometimes it's hard for women, Karen, I know, but sometimes as we get older, you have to learn how to love yourself and say, no, I can't do that right now, you know?
That's a beautiful way to wrap this up. Thank you.
Well, I've enjoyed it. God went by so fast. Karen, you know, I'm so glad you reached out to me after that Channel 6 segment. It's such an honor to know you, and I just love, thank you to your audience, and thank you so much. I hope we connect again.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure learning from you today. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Have a beautiful day, Karen. Take care, and bye, everybody.
And bye, everyone.